Hey, y'all. Before we start this episode, I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. So, this was going to start off as a normal Zoo News episode, and you'll hear that at the beginning here. And then I was going to share a headline story and then get into normal Zoo News stuff. But then the headline story got me thinking, and then something happened. You'll hear the whole thing, but this kind of just turns into a chat about um, cyberbullying and some other stuff and the consequences of that. And as a trigger warning, it does include references to suicide and mental health issues and all kinds of stuff. And it also just kind of has me rambling a bit. But yeah, it felt right to do it this way. So here it is. Hello, I'm John Rossi, a touring drummer with the love of all things animal. When I'm on the road, I visit as many zoos, aquariums. Hey, wait a minute. What's going on? Hey, what's going on there? Hello? Hello? Hello?
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you Rossifari Zoo News. News you can use from the world of zoos and conservation. Every week, we bring you breaking news and analysis from around the globe featuring the animals you love and the people who care for them. And here's your anchorman, John Rossi.
Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to Rossifari Zoo News, your look at everything going on in the world of zoos, aquariums, conservation, and general animal weirdness. Now, in case you don't know, in case you're new here, Rossifari Zoo News is a crowdsourced zoo news program. You can tag me in any stories you see that you think would be zoo news worthy at Rossifari on the socials, at Rossifari Pod on the TikTok machine. You can email them to me, rossifaripod@gmail.com. And if you do any of that, I'll say your name at the end of the episode. Yay! Let's see here. What's going on with me this week? Well, not much. I've been in rehearsals for my upcoming show, which is $1 Million Quartet at Mount Gretna Theater. And it's lovely to be here and doing the thing again. It's actually been kind of funny this week. So, okay. I know I've talked about MDQ a lot, but in case you don't know this, $1 Million Quartet is the story of a night when 4 recording artists from the 50s, Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, and Jerry Lee Lewis, got together at Sun Records and had a jam session. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was on the Broadway, and I've been touring the show for about 10 years now, so I'm pretty familiar with it. And but what's been interesting this week is that when we cast our production of $1 Million Quartet, we knew that Taylor Gray, who you hear doing a lot of the music on this podcast with me, who's going to be playing Jerry Lee Lewis in this production, wouldn't be able to be here the first week. He is off in Fort Worth, Texas, playing a show down there. And it overlapped by a week, but we wanted Taylor, so he said, yeah, come in a week late, which is fine, and which we can do. Taylor's done the show a ton of times as well. But it did mean that for this week, as we were blocking the show, we didn't have one of the 4 stars of the show. And that's challenging. And normally what happens in that process is that the stage manager will just read the lines off stage. But that doesn't always make the blocking so easy to learn, and it doesn't give the actors a lot to work with. And as such, I decided to volunteer and play Jerry Lee this week. Now, I am not a pianist. I can tinker a little, and I was able to do enough to illustrate some things. But yes, I've done all the acting, though, and it's been a lot of fun. And I've just been running around and being Jerry Lee Lewis and jumping on the piano bench and all the things. And it has been quite the thrill. So as you are listening to this, if you're listening on Friday, that's our last day of rehearsal before Taylor shows up. And so my era of being Jerry Lee will have ended, but it has been a really fun time. And for those of you who know the show or know anything about rockabilly in general, Jerry Lee was quite the wild man, and playing him has been really, really fun and only occasionally made me feel creepy. So That's a good thing. Yeah, and that's really all that I've been up to this week, other than, normal life stuff. But I'm excited to be back doing some MDQ. And like I said, if you're in the central Pennsylvania area, come on out to Mount Gretna and see the show. So with all that said, I think it's time that we get to our zoo news. And I'm going to say this now. Our headline story this week, well, you're going to get a trigger warning for it because it's a tough one. So if anything about depression or choices that may be made because of that can affect you, you may want to sit this bad boy out. And even if you're not affected by those things, this is not the easiest story to listen to. So the next couple minutes on here are going to get very, very heavy after our fun little parody song. But so, yeah, I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. But without further ado, let's get into it. All right, y'all. So, this is a really heavy story, like I mentioned. The animal rescue world lost someone this week, and it feels only appropriate to make this the headline story for the week, because it's had a bigger impact than even just the loss of a person, which, is a big impact. Mikayla Rains, an animal rescuer who was known for saving foxes, though her work extended to other animals, has died by suicide, and her loss is being felt not only by those who loved her and those who were fans of her, but throughout the community at large. Mikayla ran Save a Fox Rescue, and over her life saved well over 1,000 animals just in the 8 years of Save a Fox. And that includes when she was able to save 500 foxes from a fur farm of ill repute, a saga that was honestly really incredible to watch unfold online. She showed the process and was very transparent, and wow. Mikayla was, on the surface, one of the happiest people you could ever find, at least online. Her posts, which were mostly her educating about foxes or even just helping people fall in love with the species through cute videos of her rescued foxes, they always featured just a smiling woman who was so happy and so playful and so full of love. And occasionally we not only got to see her, but her husband, Ethan, or would hear about her child, Freya. And while she did occasionally use her Save a Fox platform to talk about some of the difficulties she had in life, especially doing animal rescue, it was mostly an upbeat place where cute videos led to donations, which led to her ability to save more animals and take care of the animals she did save, which was what, obviously she was hyper-focused on. But it turns out that Mikayla struggled with a lot of things. She was on the autism spectrum, she battled depression, and she struggled with borderline personality disorder, and despite trying many medications and therapists over the years, nothing seemed to fully help her. And I can say all of that because Mikayla was actually very open and honest about these struggles, sharing about them on her personal social media pages and using her following on those pages to have a platform to teach about mental illness and share about what that struggle is like without allowing that, challenging, I don't want to use the word negative, but to some people maybe negative, stuff to affect her rescue and the money and awareness and education that all came from having over 600,000 followers that were there to see cute foxes and learn from Mikayla's just absolutely unique and bubbly and wonderful personality. Now, I spend a lot of time on here talking about the good things in the animal care world and all sides of that, and I stand by that. But we do touch on this kind of thing occasionally, but something that crops up in the animal world, whether it's with rescues or with training professionals or even with zookeepers and managers, stuff like that, is that there tends to be a lot of very strong opinions. Almost everyone in this world is very, very passionate. And while that is mostly a good thing and is almost always a necessary thing, it also means that the bad side of passion can also show up pretty easily. Rumor mongering, jealousy, anger, simple disagreements that turn into larger battles. There is a lot of all of that in the animal world, and it's something that bothers me so much when I see it. Because honestly, in general, this is probably the group of people I've met that I love and admire the most, just as a group. And unfortunately, Mikayla was a victim of some of these people being inappropriately passionate. And I'm being kind, phrasing it that way. But yeah, people, especially online and including other sanctuaries, sometimes would attack her, especially in comment sections and such, and smear both Save a Fox Rescue and her own personal approach to rescue work, and smearing the content that she created to promote and fund the rescue. In fact, she would often get attacked multiple times a day by these keyboard warriors. And unfortunately, lately, many of the attacks came from people who were supposedly close friends, which caused her to feel like the world was turning against her. And earlier this week, it became too much. And she took her own life. And look, sure, her depression and BPD did not help the situation, but it was the bullying that pushed her over the top and led her to no longer feel like she could be in the world anymore. That she needed to end her life, even if it meant leaving Ethan and Freya behind and leaving all of the animals in her care behind without their best friend. And frankly, even to leave so many animals that still needed to be rescued without one of their greatest champions. Mikayla was a force for good in this world. And in bullying her, people not only took her from the world and took her from her husband and her child and from her foxes, but they also took away all of the good that Mikayla was doing in the world and all of the good that she was still going to do. And I'm really struggling with that. Because I mean, yes, I'm sure that some of the people were just jerks that exist online. But I also truly know that a lot of the people that did this thought they were doing the right thing and thought they were being advocates and would probably, back against the wall, still say they were handling things correctly, which is gross. But people tend to double down in situations like this. Ethan posted a video announcing Mikayla's death on the Save a Fox social media pages. And the video, it gets so real. It took me 3 attempts before I could get through it. And I highly recommend checking it out if you want to not only see an incredibly raw and real tribute to Mikayla, but also to see an unfiltered view of what it looks like when someone is left behind after a decision like this is made. Mikayla was by no means the only person suffering because of this bullying. And you get to see that in a very real and painful way if you watch this video. It is, it's a lot, y'all. It is a lot. And yeah, I highly recommend checking it out if you're comfortable and able to. Yeah. And I do want to say, I did not know Mikayla or ever interact with her except for donating to Save a Fox a few times. I had thought of trying to get her on the podcast multiple times, even discussed the idea with Zoe, and she thought that would be a great idea. But I always figured there would be time, and honestly, that it would be more fun to do it at a time when I could visit and share cute pics and videos of the foxes there with y'all. Maybe even get to meet some foxes. I like foxes. I never thought that this would be how I'd introduce the Rossifari community to Mikayla Rains. But here it is, because of bullying. And I know I talk about this a lot, and I truly believe that most of you in the Rossifari community aren't the problem. But I have to say it again. Words matter. Comments matter. I've shared about the death threats that I've gotten, even just how the negative comments I get on certain posts drive me crazy, and how I see people attack zoos or pride nights or whatever, and it's just so much. And I personally think that, don't be a dick is like a great code to live by. But that code seems to be followed by fewer people every day, especially online. So yeah, if you're ever tempted to go down that road, pause and think of people like Mikayla, who was smiling on the outside and honestly living a life most of us would love to experience on the surface, but then decided to end that life rather than face the bullying and attacks that continued to come her way. If anyone who hears her story can pause and think of her before engaging in bullying behavior, even if you think it is for a right cause, you never know what the person on the other end is going through. And if you can do that, then she'll have a second legacy that is almost as impressive as the one she leaves behind. That is all of her rescued animals, Save a Fox, which will continue without her, and just the amazing impact that she's had on literally millions of people who saw her content and fell just that much more in love with animals or had that much better of a day because of it. Rest in peace, Mikayla. I'm sorry. I'm sorry this happened. All right. So I just finished recording that, and I was trying to figure out how you transition from that to births and deaths and cute zoo news stories and stuff like that. And I decided I just needed to clear my head for a second and then just, do that. And I hopped online, and the first post was a friend of mine posting about how she was being cyberbullied and showing evidence of it. And she's cool, and she's not going down the same route that Mikayla did in this moment. But this is also not a person with a huge platform, not somebody who, I sometimes think that people look at people with 600,000 followers or like, 120,000 followers like me and think like, oh, this isn't a real human. This is an influencer, and influencers aren't people. And I weirdly get that in a weird sort of way. I sometimes feel like when I engage with people online and they're being super mean like that, oh, you can't even be a real human. You're not real. You're just whatever. I don't know how to describe it, but I weirdly understand that idea as wrong as it is. And in talking to other people who are influencers and who have bigger followings or smaller followings that are crazier than mine, thank y'all for mostly being pretty sane. We talk about that a lot, and kind of how you can tell that people don't associate you with real people, not to at all compare these situations. But I've talked on here a couple times recently about how there have been multiple people that reached out to me and basically let me know that they ship Danny Larson and I. And, it's one thing to ship fictional characters, I guess, but, no, first of all, we are amazing friends, but we are not in love with each other. And second of all, you know, when you think about us as not real people, it's cool. It's whatever. We're two people who get along really well, have a really great relationship. You've heard a lot of our banter, and we are a very cute pair of people. We're not a cute couple because we're not a couple, but we are. We're very cute together. People love us. I get it. But if you actually stop and actually think about what that would look like and what that would do to Zoe and to me, frankly, and to Paul and to their kids and all of that, it's not cute anymore, right? And I'm not putting down anyone. I know that there are a couple of you that are listening to this right now that are like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, John, or whatever. He's calling me out. And I'm not. I'm really not. I'm just using this as an example of how it's so easy to disassociate voices on a podcast or comments on Facebook or, you know, on Instagram with an actual human being. Right. So many of the comments that I've gotten on my like drumming with Emily videos, I get so many, kind of talk in the third person. Like they don't even take the time to realize that like I'm the person doing the drumming. Right. They just stumbled upon it and are like, oh my gosh, look at him. It's cool that you're showing us him. And it's like, no, I am him. I'm a real person. I'm that person, in fact. And so I get that, but I don't know, man. It's such a weird thing that the internet does. And seeing that crop up on Facebook in a person who is not a public-facing figure, there's no way to transition from that to, oh my goodness, there's a cute animal that was born at this zoo this week. So while I didn't intend for this to be a special edition, it's kind of become one. And, you know, if you listen to this podcast, then you are invested in animals and in the people that are invested in animals, whether it is rescuers or veterinarians who, remember, we've talked about this before, have like double the rate of suicide of the average person, and who have a whole organization called NOMV, Not One More Vet, dedicated to trying to prevent veterinarians from feeling the need to take their own lives. To zookeepers, who are some of the most passionate people you'll ever meet, and oftentimes, especially for their level of expertise and education, are also very underpaid and who definitely deal with challenging things like the loss of animals and stuff. And, you know, whatever it is, an aquarist or a biologist, whatever term you want to use, you're invested in these animals and thus you're invested in these people. Even if you don't know anyone in the industry and you only listen to them on this podcast, you are invested in them. And so I guess my point is, because boy, I did not plan this, but make their lives better. Think before you speak. Think before you comment. Even an innocuous comment. I have full faith that there is not a single human being listening to this episode right now that has ever bullied a zookeeper or anything like that intentionally. If you are and you're here, that's weird. But welcome. I hope you learn to do better. But I don't think anyone is here that does that. But I will say that I do see things sometimes that people put up comments that they don't mean to be offensive, that aren't bullying in the sense that we think about. But we do put up comments like, oh, that's pretty young for when an animal died. And like, yeah, it might be true. We talk about that on here every week. But without providing the context that kind of just might look bad in that moment, might make a keeper who's already feeling bad see that and be like, oh, the public hates me, even though you might just be spouting off a fact, You know that red pandas tend to live 15 or so years in captivity and can go longer. And you see that one dies when they're 5 and you go, oh my goodness, that's such an early loss of life. Be careful how you phrase it, because also, even if they don't see your comment or take it negatively, other people will see it and not know that you're commiserating and just be like, oh my gosh, that panda died young. I need to comment on this and I'm going to go bully the zoo. And I don't know. I think the internet is such a mess. I really do. And losing someone in this community who was just doing so much good, right? Like, and here's the thing. Let's say that you disagree with every single thing that Mikayla did with her rescue. You don't like that she, funded it with social media. You don't like that she was a cute female who wore cute outfits in her videos, which are comments that I saw and had heard before about her. And you don't like, I don't know. I've never seen anything there I don't like, so I don't know what you like. But let's say that you don't like it, right? Her mission was to remove foxes from fur farms where they were raised terribly, killed, and turned into coats. So even if you disagree with every single thing that woman did, from the time that she woke up in the morning, when you think that her morning breath was just way grosser than it needed to be, till the time she went to bed at night because she snored too loudly, and every point in between. Obviously, I don't know that any of that is true, but even if you think that little of her, isn't what she was doing for the foxes better than what they were experiencing? Weren't those foxes better off with her than being worn by some rich person after being half starved to death? Well, I think so. And now she's gone. And so now those foxes that she could have rescued aren't gonna be. Those foxes are gonna be coats. Those foxes are gonna die because of these bullying comments. And again, I know I'm all over the place on this one. I think I just needed to get this off my chest. I think about mental health stuff a lot. There are a lot of people that I know in this industry who I know face this stuff, and I worry about them. I'm married to a veterinarian. And while I don't worry about this with her, at the moment, life is long and things happen and it's scary. So yeah, make life better for the animal care professionals in the world. I oftentimes, if I'm at a facility and I see keepers, thank them for what they do. I know that can sound cheesy, but I can tell you that I've never, ever, 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 ever gotten a weird look or negative response when I've done it. And I started doing that well before any of them might recognize me as that Rossifari guy. And just remember that, like I said before, words have consequences. I am going to stop rambling. I appreciate y'all for listening this far. And I hope, I know that my special editions usually get a lot of love and have a lot of impact, but I also usually put a lot more thought and a lot less emotion into them. So I hope this is impactful. I hope this has had some, something. I hope this has had some impact somewhere, even if I never hear of it, because we need good things out there. And I hope that there are good things that you can take from this episode. I'm going to go, and I'll be back with regular Zoo Newsy stuff next week. Obviously, we'll have the interview episode on Tuesday. And I do, of course, want to say thank you to everyone for listening. Special thank you to my patrons, especially my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Schenk, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, Melissa Reed, Carrie Kirkpatrick, John Lewis, and Kevin Williams. And don't worry, if you sent me stories this week, there's a good chance they'll make it into the podcast next week. I'll say your name at the end of the episode. I don't know. None of that none of that feels right for the tone of this episode. And I hope y'all appreciate that. And I hope this one didn't bring y'all down too much. So yeah, sending you guys all my love. Thank you for being here as always. And we'll see you back here on Tuesday. And until then, what the heck? Let's throw in one good joke. Well, it's not good, but just remember, folks, until Tuesday, the words Newsy credits backwards are Steider Kiswen.
The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.